Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. Today's case is that of Tennessee missing and unsolved. Man reported missing from Jackson was later found deceased in Dyer County, Tennessee. His case remains unsolved. Miguel Price was a 29-year-old rapper from Jackson, Tennessee. He was also a loved father and stepfather. On October the 15th, 2004, he was seen by his girlfriend for the last time at her home on Highland Avenue in Jackson, Tennessee. She later reported him missing. From the beginning, authorities suspected that he may have encountered harm. The suspicion was confirmed to be a fact on November the 26th, 2004, when two deer hunters found human remains on the bank of the Forked Deer River behind the Middle City community in Dyer County. Those remains were confirmed by dental records to belong to Miguel Price. He had suffered multiple gunshot wounds. Investigators were trying to determine if his death occurred in Madison County or Dyer County. I don't really think that was... I've encountered that a lot in these stories. When someone's body is found, and they're not from that area, they try to determine, okay, who has jurisdiction. Is it in the area where he was located or the area where he was from, where the crime may have actually taken place? So it just kind of slows down the investigation, in my own opinion. But this article is from 2013. Murder victim Miguel Price was found murdered in Dyer County, November 26, 2004. The murder of the man from Jackson, Tennessee is still an open case after 8 years. Now, like I said, this was from 2013, so it's actually been 21 years. I don't think his case has ever been solved. Dyer County Sheriff investigator who worked with the FBI and the TBI investigating the case said it was determined Price's body had been at that location for 2 months and had to be identified through dental records. After an autopsy was performed on the badly decomposed body, it was revealed that he had died from gunshot. On October the 15th, 2004, Price's girlfriend at the time had reported him missing. She told authorities that he told her he was going to Dyer County. Investigators stated all of the evidence indicates that Price was killed in Dyer County, and there has been a person of interest in the case. So they believe that he was taken out there to that riverbank and shot and killed there, and that's where his body had remained. So they don't believe he was shot and killed elsewhere and then moved. We know he came to the county with a person of interest, and this person said that he took Price back to his residence in Jackson, but the girlfriend said that that never happened. She said once he left her house that day, she never saw him again. He never returned back to her house. So whoever this friend was of his, told authorities, and maybe it's possible that he dropped him off down the street or in the neighborhood, but she just says he never came back to her house. Price was a rapper, and he was known to his friends as Mookie or Red. He was last seen alive by his girlfriend in October of 2004. Robbery was the motive, is what the investigators believe, and they believe that more than one person was involved. Investigators say the investigation led us to believe that more than one person was involved in this murder. They also said that although they had a person of interest, they still needed to gather more information before they could make an arrest. If you have any information, you can contact Dyer County Sheriff's Office, and there's a $1,000 reward. Now, like I said, this was 12 years ago when this article was written, but the phone number is 731-445-3082. See, this was dated this year, and it says that the case is still unsolved. It's pretty much the same article. Today, this case is unheard of, but Miguel is still in the hearts of his loved ones, and they still hope for answers and closure. And if anyone has any information, you can contact the Jackson Police Department at 731-845-8400. This lady says, I have children with Miguel, and it's not a day goes by that I don't think of him. It's been 20 years. So now this article here that I'm reading from was written about a year ago, and at that time there was still no resolution, and I didn't find anything that would say that there has been since then. This must be the woman that he was living with at the time. I'm not going to put her name out here, but she just talks about how she misses him, and his children missed him, and had to grow up without him, without knowing what had happened to him, who had done this. So this Tennessee Missing and Unsolved writes this in response. I'm going to step in for a moment to clear some things up. He was reported missing by his girlfriend at the time. She had been in contact with law enforcement, and this post was requested by one of her children. Many times people know or have an idea of who is responsible, and some will freely share that information publicly. Others will not because of fear of lawsuits. I'm sure she has been straightforward with the police, and if anyone has any information, that is who they need to contact. She's just talking about how much her children missed him and how much she missed him, and that it was just evil. Whoever did this to him, it was an evil act. Really couldn't find anything else on Miguel Price, but I will continue to look through articles and look through some Reddit posts and things like that to see if I can find anything more updated about him. And I'm going to move on to a couple of Does, unknown bodies that have been discovered. Today I want to cover this case. It's from a Facebook page called the Nameless Doe. This is a unidentified body, a white male who is thought to be around age 36 to 45 years of age. His estimated year of death was 1992. Estimated to have been about 5'8" and around 150 to 160 pounds. His body was found June the 23rd, 1992 in Florida. The circumstances around his recovery were: his body was found about a half a mile south of Fay Boulevard. Other details: witnesses had seen the man hitchhiking and had got into the bed of a truck, and there was an accident involving the driver of the truck got into an accident, and this man was known as Butch. He was the owner of the vehicle, and he also died in this accident, and he lived in Paducah, Kentucky. The vehicle was a blue 1983 Chevy pickup truck. And this man apparently had picked up this unidentified man hitchhiking. This man got into the bed of the pickup truck driven by this man named Butch. And they got into an accident, and both men died. And he had a beard and mustache. He didn't have any identification on him. The clothing that he was wearing was the only thing it has described here was that he was wearing a ball cap with an emblem on it that said Daytona. If anyone has any information on who this man could possibly be, and I don't know if they've done DNA testing on this man's remains. This was in Brevard County, Florida, and you can contact the medical examiner's office there at 321-633-1981. This is MC case number 199200231. He's called the Nameless Doe. He was named the Nameless Doe. This was a car accident. So this one was from 1981. This one is named the Brevard County John Doe. He was a man whose skeletal remains were found partially burned in a wooded area off of between St. Johns River and Interstate 95 in Canaveral Groves, Florida. He was found wrapped with an electric blanket. He was wrapped up inside of an electric blanket. They say that he had a muscular build and he may have been a weightlifter or had worked as some type of physical laborer because he had well-defined muscles. He wore a dental plate. He had healed fractures to his face and his left leg. His left leg injuries indicated that he had been injured in a car accident about 8 to 10 years prior to his death. So this would have been sometime around 1971 to 1973. And they thought it might also be the reason why he had lost his teeth and had this dental implant or partial plate. Now, there was an elastic strap found that had some stitching on it that was believed to have been the remains of a pair of underwear. That was all that was left. So this would tell people that his body had probably been there for some time. He was believed to have been around 36 to 50 years of age. He was a white male, 5'9", and they believed he had been there for about 2 to 5 years when he was found. His cause of death was from a stabbing. I was looking to see if there was any contact information on this man. There is something on him on Nameless. Found July the 3rd, 1981, believed to have been deceased for up to 5 years. There is a likeness of him here. And there was very little else. There was no other clothing found, just this one piece of elastic that they believe had come from a pair of underwear. The fact that he was wrapped in an electric blanket could mean that he was undressed at the time. He may have been in bed and may only have been wearing a pair of underwear when he was stabbed to death. Or the person who killed him may have removed his clothing to keep anybody from being able to identify it. And you can look him up on Nameless or Wikipedia, but I couldn't find any other information as to contact anyone about him. This is from Reddit. This is from the Grateful Doe on Reddit. And there is, like I said, there is a likeness of him that they had made out of reconstruction. On Thursday, July the 2nd, 1981, a passing motorist stopped alongside the road and walked out into a wooded area to urinate when he discovered the half-buried skeletal remains of an unidentified male. This was about 1.5 miles east of the St. Johns River. The descendant's skull and several other bones, including his rib cage, spine, and pelvis, were found wrapped up inside of an electric blanket. His leg bones and 5 teeth were scattered within close proximity. Police said that the remote dirt road was a popular place for target practice. Deputies using metal detectors found many different caliber slugs and shotgun pellets in the area, as well as some clay pigeons and beer cans and other items that people might take out there to target shoot. This was a white male, believed to be about 36 to 55, 5'9". Weight, eye color, and hair color could not be determined. Now, once again, I ask, and I know that with DNA testing, it can take years, and maybe they can kind of get a profile of the person, but in order to link it to somebody, they have to have a starting point, you know. Now, a watch was also found near the body, but they couldn't be positive that it had belonged to this person. Before I move on into the next part of this story, I would just like to remind everybody, if you haven't already, to please like the video and subscribe to the channel. One more John Doe that I will talk about is the Keysburg John Doe. This is in Keysburg, Kentucky. He was discovered April 30th, 1992. On April 30th, 1992, the decomposed remains of an adult male were located in a trash pile behind an abandoned farmhouse in Keysburg, Kentucky. The victim was discovered face down, wearing a brown t-shirt and yellow sweatpants. The victim was covered in clear plastic, and 2 sawhorses had been laid on top of him. The victim died from a gunshot wound to the chest. There are no leads in the identity of the victim or the possible suspect. This victim was buried in Kentucky under the name John Doe. If you have any information concerning this, you can contact the local FBI office. It says the American Embassy, so I'm thinking that they may believe that this person was a migrant. There is a photograph of him here, but it's like a likeness that they've drawn with some information about his height and weight. Now, it says here he was a Caucasian, but I don't understand why they would ask you to contact the American Embassy. He was believed to be between the ages of 20 and 40, 5'7" to 5'10", around 150 pounds. He had black hair, and his eye color was unknown. That was really all the information there was on him. I went back through and I searched for anything I could find on Miguel Price in Tennessee. There was just nothing else. And so that's just one of those cases that kind of this, has very little details to go on. I don't know much about him before, other than he was a rapper and he was, a father and was in this relationship with this woman. They did have a person of interest, but they couldn't prove anything, so no one has ever been charged. This is another case of a young woman who's an unidentified doe. On September the 8th, 2018, the decomposing remains of a young female were found on a rural road in Nashville, Tennessee. She was dressed head to toe in Vanderbilt University attire, and this gave her the nickname Vandy Jane Doe. But no students, staff, or alumni were reported missing. Could have been just because she lived in the Nashville area. Maybe she was from the Nashville area, or maybe she had traveled to the Nashville area and had just bought these clothing. She could have got them at a yard sale, a thrift store, or some other type of place like that. In the fall of 2022, Vandy Jane Doe was exhumed for DNA testing. It was determined that she was about 50-50 African American and European Italian. As of September of 2025, the team at DNA Investigative Solutions is partnering with the Metro Nashville Police Department to continue genetic genealogy in an attempt to identify her. If you have done a home DNA test such as Ancestry, DNA, 23andMe, consider uploading your DNA to GEDmatch or DNA Justice for law enforcement to be able to use to see if your DNA may be a relative of this girl. She was fully dressed. She had on some jewelry. Vandy Jane Doe was the nickname given to a young woman whose body was discovered in Nashville, Tennessee. She was believed to have been the victim of homicide. She was a light-skinned black female. She was discovered at around 10:40 a.m. by a couple driving down a secluded road of Sulphur Creek Road. After noticing a bird dragging what appeared to be a human skull, they looked around in the ditch several feet away from the roadside, and they found the rest of the remains. She was severely decomposed, and she was wearing no shoes. Evidence at the scene suggested the body had been dumped at this site and hidden under brush and weeds. Now, the couple had driven down this secluded back road, and as they got closer, they saw this bird. They didn't know what it had, but when they got up close enough to it, they realized that it looked like a human skull. Based on multiple pieces of Vanderbilt University apparel, investigators first believed she had ties to the university, or that possibly had attended the university, or maybe some recent events. Some people wonder if maybe she was a high school student who had come there to one of these college weekends where young teenage high schoolers will go to the colleges to look them over to decide if they want to go there. But you would think that her parents, if she was a high school student who was planning to go to college. But like I said, it's possible she may have just bought these clothes at a, local shop. But once they looked into students at the university, people local, they could find nobody that really matched her. Her remains were exhumed and submitted for forensic reanalysis by Othram Labs, indicating that she was half Italian American on her father's side and half African American on her mother's side. Now, previously, they believed she was fully black, but once they looked into it, they realized that her heritage was mixed. Now, some genetic ties have been linked to Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. Family names of interest are Mangiarelli, Brunetti, and Hayes. These are just a few names with DNA, people that have used these 23andMe and these matches, and it's kind of linked out, branched out, and they've been able to link her to some of these people. She was initially reported to be about 15 to 25 years of age, but later they put her age range as a little older, saying that she could have been anywhere from 20 to 40. But those doing the DNA and those who have reconstructed, they all believe that she was probably no older really than 25. And so this would have put her, so they kind of debated about this. They went back and forth. Different labs and different people working on this case had her anywhere from the age 15 to 40. And now they're saying 21 to 35, which is a pretty good size, length of time. Some of the clothing that she was wearing was a black Under Armour jacket with the reading Vandy stitched under the Vanderbilt University logo. She was wearing a black t-shirt, a black Suzatte's legging with a geometrical pattern with the Vanderbilt University logo. She was wearing a black and green sports bra with leopard print, and she was wearing a necklace that was white metal, and it was missing the pendant that came with it. She was also wearing a black Suzatte's hip rocker running belt with a zipper pocket and a pair of white socks. So the clothing that she was wearing, the outer clothing that she was wearing, was almost all Vanderbilt related. And like I said, that doesn't really mean that she had ties to the university. Here in Kentucky, it's not uncommon to see many people on a daily basis wearing University of Kentucky Wildcats clothing. You may see a few wearing Louisville, but not around here. Not in these parts. But anyway, so she was wearing this necklace, and it was believed to have this pendant on it, and I will include these photos, but it was believed to have this pendant on it that was like a square shape with a star in the middle, but that pendant was missing. But that was the type of necklace that it was, and so they believe that that was. Now, they've ruled out quite a few women that were missing, probably up to 20 that they ruled out. Date of discovery, September the 8th, 2018. It was estimated that she had died sometime in 2018. She was partially decomposed, but not fully decomposed, so they don't think that she was out there for a really long time. She was estimated to be between 5 foot tall and 5'5". She had black curly hair. She was black, African American, and half Italian, and possibly half Caucasian. Partly. Her heritage was all of these: black, white, and Italian. Doesn't say anything about her, if she had any tattoos, scars, missing teeth, anything of that nature. It just goes on once again to describe the clothing. And that was really all I could find on her. If anyone has any information or thinks they may know who this could possibly be, you can contact the Forensic Medical Management Services of the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department at 615-862-7329. It's strange that she wasn't thought. I don't think anybody ever thought that she was any type of street worker, prostitute, or anything of that nature. They didn't describe her as having had any kind of indications that she had lived a rough lifestyle. She was a young woman, and a lot of people believe she did have ties to Vanderbilt in some way or another because of the clothing. But like I said, there's a lot of people who wear these types of clothing. They support that school, the sports team. So it's just strange that, has anyone reported a young woman missing who would fit that description? And that was really all I can find on her at this time. I will continue to look her up and see if I come across any more stories or posts about her. Thanks for watching.